You spend so much time trying to fit in, you don't even realize the purpose of your teenage years. Growing up is not a rite of passage. I am your host, Devon, and you are listening to another episode of Center of the Sun podcast. Thank you for listening. Growing up is a symbol that represents everything in the cosmos. It's like it's a task. Becoming a human is a task. And most days you feel like, living life is fun. And some days, it feels like if you had a choice, you'd keep choosing that bitch over and over again, all the way into infinity. And there are a few things I personally would rather never choose to experience again. The first thing, Nicki Minaj threatening Meek Mill at the mall. Like, what the hell is going on? Apparently, there are reports that Nicki Minaj and her man, I don't know his name, Mr. Petty, something like that. They showed up at the same place together. Just like, what a coincidence. Like, it's totally not staged. It's totally not like about like an album, most likely. Yeah, I'm like, if y'all hate each other that bad, like people that I like really hate, I avoid like the plague. And you'll never see me nowhere out in public with them. So good luck to Nicki Minaj and her man and her X-Men. Anyway, another thing I would rather not experience ever is seeing pictures of Jay-Z ever at a Rock Nation anything. Like, I think it was like Damon Dash or somebody, I don't know, but just like hearing the drama about like how these people operate in the real world, I'm over it. I'm good. But I mean, Beyonce looked great. Everyone else looked a little dry, but it is what it is. Speaking of being dry, fuck Justin Bieber. I just saw him being rude to his wife, Haley, on Twitter today. They obviously were fucking like arguing or something because he closed the door on her leg in the car on Twitter. Like, y'all obviously were arguing in the car, and then how you just gonna slam the door behind you? You're a fucking asshole. You're a dry ass asshole, and that's why you're addicted to drugs now, because you don't have coping skills, bitch. Anyway, speaking of people without coping skills, because LeBron James' son got an orange peel thrown at him at a game recently. The coping skills of that man to apologize. Wow. I was actually very surprised. But like, damn, can black kids get a freaking break out here in these streets? Even if you are rich, you still get freaking treated rude by the general public. And it doesn't matter what they pay to be in that front row. They're still going to assault you. So how are you doing today? You can text me. My number is 513-549-6080. I'm trying to start a list of people, and if you text me right now, I will send you information on how you can join my email list at devon.org, or you can just go join it. But sometimes it's easier to get a direct link. Duh. But thank you for listening. Did you hear about the Grammys? I guess they're airing tonight, so you're most likely not going to be listening to my show, but the former CEO of the Grammys is all over the morning shows lately. I think I saw her on CBS with Gayle King maybe or something, but explaining like why the entire organization is complete trash. It's so sad. But for the most part, life is lit. Congrats to whoever wins, and most likely won't win because you don't win based on musical ability. Most times you win based on fucking sales or something. I don't know what happens, but that's something you learn growing up. And you most likely are listening to the show because you just spend a little bit too much time trying to fit in. And sometimes figuring out that you don't fit in and being okay with that is the lesson. But growing up, it doesn't have to be an inherent part of your personal development. You can be a child forever. You can be an asshole forever. You can never grow, and that's probably why you will die of dementia if you never get 2 cents about you and grow. But growing up more so relates to the collective consciousness or the soul development. The process of soul development is not just you. It is everybody and you at the same time. It's such a trippy thing. But I just want you to realize that it's a gift. And it's a gift if you choose to take it. So thank you for listening. I am your host, Devon, and your soul represents the link in a cosmic chain you own, free and clear. I think my higher self told me that earlier because I don't even know what that fucking means. But basically, you choose where to link your soul. You choose where the direction of the soul heads by your personal choices. And then those choices add up to larger choices. And then we're going off to glory. And but if you never knew that you had a part in it in the first place, we're just out here being reckless, and that's fine. I mean, being reckless is fine, but sometimes it's very stressful to be reckless, and being a rebel is not cute. You've spent so much time trying to fucking fit in, or actually you've spent so much fucking time failing to fit in because you haven't found your tribe or your group of people that you truly fuck with. You spent so much time trying to fit in and failing at it, you've forgotten that you have a large stake in this reality. You don't even know why you're here, bitch. Well, maybe you do, but you don't understand your level of investment on this planet as you are living in this space with this life, taking these breaths, moving that energy. Growing up is your gift of time travel because you and all of your experiences and all of the experiences you possess inside of your mind and in your memory are all accessible as future teachable moments. Sometimes as simple as sitting in like fucking math class or something like that, like your entire fucking childhood, seemingly for no reason, can show up back, in your life later in your life. And it can show back up in your life in ways that you never would realize had you not gone through that experience. So without a particular set of experiences and particular memories that you possess, good or bad, you're the observer. So you're the supreme being. You cannot be contained in this physical reality. So therefore you're the observer and you give value where value is needed. So if you're evaluating your memories, you don't need anybody else but yourself to tell you what's good or bad. Even in the context of whatever fucked up framework you were raised in. Like without, like, for instance, if we keep talking about class and like growing up as a teenager, like without a particular set of math classes that through which you had to sit and then, get good grades in and, work hard in later lessons that built upon those classes would have no context. And the information you received would return void like a check. Because there are only certain things you can fake and make in this reality. You can't fake everything because you are a part of a collective. And that collective is you. So does that even make sense? I'm barely holding on right now. I bit my tongue the other day. It hurts. It's hard to talk. I'm sorry if I'm slurring. I had to go to the Verizon store the other day and I forgot to take my beta blocker and my like water pill. I forgot to take all my medicine. I forgot to take like all this shit. So I like went to Kroger. I like delayed. I didn't get home till like 2. Excuse me, that's my kombucha. Let me get some ASMR. ASMR in here, but I just bit my tongue trying to say that. So fuck it. God, it hurts to talk, but I went to the Verizon store the other day and I didn't eat breakfast and I didn't take my medicine and all that kind of stuff. So by the time I got home, I was so famished. I just started eating and just eating so fast that I bit the fuck out of my tongue. Like, oh my God, like, but I apologize if I slur today because it's actually really hard to talk. It's the equivalent of if I would have gotten a tongue piercing there's just more spit and more movement that is required. And I'm just like not happy. But how are you doing today? Text me 513-549-6080. Thank you for listening. You're listening to Center of the Sun. And I want you to think back. I want you to think back to those like early mornings, sitting at a hard desk. Ours were blue, like it depended on which classroom you went in, but like ours were blue or like tan, but there were books and book bags and books underneath your feet and underneath your chair. And there's papers and chalk everywhere sprawling throughout the room. And during that time, we're just going to reminisce about it, you know, like, oh my God, like, can we go back? Like, hell no, it was terrible. But during that time, you learned how to count, you learned how to add. And then you graduated to like a series of operations and like different mathematical functions that you had to like freaking memorize. And then you graduated, whatever grade you were in. And then you graduated up to a higher level after that. And then eventually you found a job or a career, and then you quickly realized that it didn't matter what math class you went to. It didn't even matter if you did math, because now you just use calculators anyway. But stop right there. Stop right there, honey. Like, hold up, wait a minute. Hold up, wait a minute, put a little in it. Maybe the function, and here's one of those times where I'm slurring. Maybe the function of that part of your education was less about practical application and more about processes. Just like college is all about critical thinking. It doesn't matter that you sat up and wrote a 12-page paper. It's how did you think about that bitch and get it done? Yes, you need to know like how not to die, duh, but you have to be able to measure and count. On the other hand, you learned more than that. You learned at that time, and I'm saying it with such truth because we all learned. You learned more than that, and you learned that big abstract ideas on a paper can translate to your daily life. And like we have cell phones and like coding and AI and all kind of shit that's like, and cryptocurrency and algorithms and bullshit like that. Like you're starting to see it in daily life that all that shit you said didn't matter is actually starting to matter. And if you're in America, you probably should take heed. Here I go slurring with my broken ass tongue. You probably should take heed. Because there are other countries out here with coronavirus and shit. I'm so mad at these people. So it's not even funny. That have a grasp of all of these functions, these mathematical operations, these operations and functions. So you learn that by understanding the structure and function of math, that you can glean global truths. Also, I'm going to take a drink of my kombucha. You learned how to focus on and how to understand the configuration of numbers through which, like, key information is flowing. So, you touched on topics specifically as a kid, as a teenager, but today I encourage you to take a step back and take a breath. Like a long ass breath, a good ass prana breath, you know. In previous episodes of Center of the Sun, we have learned that simply the act of breathing, these chemical reactions in our bodies dictate how long we're going to live. And one of the main chemical reactions that are taking place in your body is the one with the outside air. And every breath you take is a little burst of energy because it's some chemical reaction. Some energy is exchanged in a charge, and a charge is moved throughout your body based on your breath. So That's why I'm encouraging you to take a breath. Today, I also want to encourage you to use mathematics and a particular configuration of the topic, specifically called numerology. Hello, it is season 4. You're listening to Center of the Sun Numerology to help you filter your experiences through your light, through like a good lens. Numerology, when I first started reading this book, there's various books that you can read. There are various frameworks through which you can understand numerology. But when I was reading it, I was like, what the fuck does this got to do with me? What does it matter if I add up the days of the day I was born and stuff like that? Like, what does it matter? All of these arbitrary things, these seemingly arbitrary things. What does it matter? Why does it matter? But like I said earlier, you thought the same thing when you were in math class. Numerology, just like mathematics, is nothing more than the notion that you can take big abstract ideas and apply them, not only apply them, but also anecdotally test them in your daily life. So just like learning how to create a cryptocurrency and how to move energy in that way, can you create a cryptocurrency in your spirit, bitch? Numerology can be used as a filter to shake through chaos in order to see patterns. Isn't it like lit? That's why I'm like, I don't care what Nicki Minaj is doing out in this reality. Like, life is actually lit. And I hope that you can start seeing these patterns, because that is your gift, is be able to recognize patterns. Just like in math class, it's a system of symbols. It's nothing more than that. It has nothing to do with white God or like deities or anything. Well, it might. That's probably why it's so significant, because it probably does have something to do with like higher powers, but it's a system of symbols to help you make better decisions. That's the purpose of it. Nothing more, nothing less, and it's fun. Hopefully, those decisions that you make, and helping you make better decisions today, lead to you living the life that you want right the fuck now. So, have you heard of numerology? What do you think of it? Numerology to me, well, from what I gleaned, so I read a book. You can find that book on my blog, devon.org. I'm going to cite my sources there. But numerology, according to mathematicians, and so first of all, what I found interesting about numerology is that the same language of numerology is used in electrical engineering. So if you look up numerology, you'll find several applications of the word. The one we're going to use today is like more spiritual and like fun, but like your whole wireless internet shit, all that shit is coded, and it's all uses the language of numerology. So that's interesting, and you can like find the patterns. I don't really know what that means. I can't really glean the higher truth about why numerology, the words themselves, are being distorted and being used in technical terms, even though they've always been a more of a naturopathic thing. But, just like modern mathematics, numerology has similar aims and has similar goal. And that is to find algebraic, and this is from PBS, to find algebraic invariants that can explain global truths. So there are certain patterns about numbers that mathematicians are always constantly trying to uncover. And then those truths that we uncover, we create systems based on them, and then we like fly to the moon or whatever the fuck happens. And like the cool thing about numerology is that this information has been around for like thousands of years, like the entirety of human existence. And that's why it has value. That's why I don't immediately discredit the Bible, because I'm like, or any sort of religious text, because if anything can last the entirety of human existence or a large portion of it, it has value, at least in the like process of like how the communication has survived, and the method through which it survived. Like the Bible is largely word of mouth, that's been written down recently, but the fact that those stories were gleaned from other stories and then gleaned from other stories, and then those stories had something to do with the planets, and then those planets had something to do with numerology. It's just like, it's so cool. And you see that there are several manifestations of numerology, and the most popular of that being astrology anyway. And it's like every religious person can have fun with astrology because it just feels good. It's something about it that feels good. And humans agree that our reality is comprised of a general set structure or function. Another parallel I want to draw is with modern mathematics, or the parallel that I want to draw with modern mathematics is that numerology is constantly being tested by humans in real life. So the valuable thing about science and math is that science and math are not truths. They are processes. And I think that like the general population just forgets that part about it. I'm like, hold on, nobody said that humans were actually apes. They just thought they were. And now they figured out that they are not. So, you know, like that's the good thing about data, is that you constantly test it. And the thing about numerology is that it's been tested for countless of years and it has returned quite interesting. So that's why you were taught as a kid to apply abstract ideas to daily life. You can apply these same critical thinking processes in a similar way to numerology. So sometimes you have to acknowledge that more things make sense, honey, when you have a deeper level of knowledge. Okay, so there's like surface level, then there's like middle, and then there's like deep. And this can be said for anything. There's like your face, there's like your outward appearance, there's like what happens like when you take off your makeup, and then there's like your true feelings. On YouTube, you know, I'm obsessed with YouTube. I'm constantly on that bitch. On YouTube, PBS Digital Studios has a collection of very informative but like super nerdy videos that explain a bunch of shit. It can become a little confusing, but sometimes their videos have the ability to help you understand big complex ideas. One video series that they have describes how scientists can map the brains of rats, and it's just really random, and it's really cool because it's like, oh my god, we're modeling, you know, like AI is gonna like take over the world and stuff, and it's like, nah bitch, like how do you think these AI came? We modeled the AI after us, and I don't know if we realized it or not, but now that all the science is coming out of here, that's neither here nor there. Now that all the science is coming out, they're starting to try to explain it to regular people. And so like take one instance of like, say if we took every brain cell of a rat and we mapped it out on a graph. Well, that map can turn out in two main ways. Okay, so you could either have a map with like supporting information, like energy flows from the amygdala to the frontal cortex, or you can have a map that says there are just a bunch of random points that we observed on this graph, find a pattern. So there's like two ways that you can start analyzing information: from an informed perspective with more information about like which direction those brain cells are moving, or you can just get a graph of random points, but with the same information, just supporting and not supporting. So say if you took your dumbass, you know, they put this piece of paper in there, there's like, here's a graph in a blank room, and you walked in with no information, you didn't know what was going on, you had no context, and you just saw a bunch of points on a graph, you would be like, okay, that's a bunch of points on a graph. Random, but okay, let's see what happens. Like, and how the fuck would you know that it was any sort of pattern? How would you know it was a rat's brain? Well, you wouldn't. And you would like initially be confused, like you would have like negative feelings and stuff like that, but eventually you would start figuring out that there's patterns. Like you would figure out that like there's 3 million points on the, like you would start figuring out something. And in math, it is widely believed, so we're going back to like the theory of like what the fuck is math. It's widely believed in mathematics that you are bound to understand something at some point. Given enough random points, you'll start making simple connections between those points. You'll start measuring them. You'll start, you'll start making observations about how you feel about them. And those connections will lead to other connections. And you'll start being, you start looking at the colors and you'll start figuring out like, oh yeah, yesterday I saw 4 connections and now I see 5. And then bam, you have a new framework. You have a whole theory, you have a methodology, you have a system to start analyzing future information. This is all very common in what you learned as a child. This is all very normal shit. This is all very normal way of analyzing life. And that's all numerology is. That's all I'm saying. Numerology is a human's attempt to try to explain to each other how the universe works. It's like the oldest form of storytelling. And it just so happens that numbers have lasted longer than languages. Because obviously symbols and words are different things. And the cool thing about these abstract ideas about how numbers work, and I haven't even touched on like what numerology actually is or what it represents, but I'm trying to bridge a parallel between what you already experienced and what I'm about to tell you today, because you're bound to stumble upon connections that are also within higher dimensions. So whenever I learn about numerology, I'm always like, is it the egg or the chicken, or the chicken come before the egg? Because are we creating a system because we want it to be there, or are we living in a system that already exists? That's the good thing about symbols, because just like in mathematics, just like an equation, you can find connections between numbers that are also in higher dimensions. And this is all theoretical mathematics, but it all has basis in our daily life as we move into 2020, into the future. When you meditate, that's why you find that your intuition is leading you, because you're connected on a higher level to somewhere else. We don't understand it. That's what's cool, but that's why we have to use things like numerology, because your intuition, you start realizing that your intuition is leading you to the important organizing features of your consciousness. And that organizing feature of consciousness is symbolic and is numerology. And if it's not, please show me a system that would work, that would go in its place. Because according to all mathematicians, where there is structure, where there is an random structure, even random structure, there's an emergent function, or there's a way to apply that structure to daily life. It always fits in. Everything's a fractal. As above, so below, even numbers. So in conclusion, and we're going to continue on. I guess we're going to go, this is going to be a series. We're going to talk about numbers 0 through 9. Well, 0 is not a number, but we have to start somewhere. But in conclusion, numbers are nothing more than symbols. So these symbols, they have connections to higher dimensions, but they're not living beings. The main thing about this is that numbers symbolize a lot of things, who you are. But a main thing that numbers can symbolize and always have are the celestial bodies, the planets, the stars, the galaxies, the asteroids, and all that shit. And just like your astrological sign, your personality is a direct result of specific points in space and time. So, which numbers are important? In numerology, there are 3 main numbers. So let's talk about them very quickly, and then we can go and we'll talk about the specifically what you are. But there are 3 main numbers. It's your psychic number, your destiny number, and your name number. Okay? Your psychic number, well, your psychic and your name number, rather, are related to your ego. So your desires, your survival skills, your self-image, your wants, your needs, your name, your family, the I-ness about you, I am part of you, that voice in the back of your head, that whole ego thing. And it also involves the ego of others. So there are things that you think about all day long that are related to your psychic number and to your name number, because your name came from somebody. And whether or not, how much it doesn't really matter how much influence these numbers have, because at the end of the day, they're only symbolic of you. They do not represent your livingness or your beingness. But what does represent the number that is most important out of all 3 of these is the destiny number. So the destiny number in numerology represents what you deserve on a spiritual level. And it seems kind of harsh, but we don't understand that part. We never lived in any other reality. So afterlives, past lives, all that kind of stuff, we don't really know. We don't really understand. And because we live in duality, our notion of like what's good and what's bad is a little distorted. So it's basically related to what you and your ancestors did in your past life. So what you deserve is directly correlated to how the actions you had in the past. So I don't know. There is no value judgment in terms of good or bad, because we don't know. We don't know. We're just the observers in this reality. And what's good in this reality might be bad in another reality. So all these billionaires that are living in luxury, they might be miserable on a spiritual level. And you better count your fucking blessings. But out of chaos, so like imagine waking up every day and being like, this world is very chaotic. Are you just going to live in chaos? No, you're going to try to start from a place. You're going to try to use a framework, and numerology can be your framework. It's tried and tested for hundreds and thousands of years for humans. It's a psychosocial thing. It's not a scientific thing. And if you really want to get scientific, it actually is scientific, because every shape and color and symbol and note on a piano and all that kind of stuff all boils down to one of these numbers. And the same thing goes with you. Every cell, every vibration in your body can be boiled down to an astrological number or some sort of sign or symbol in the universe. So numbers are nothing more than symbols. And you can use the framework of how to analyze these symbols in your daily life. So what do you think? Am I crazy? Am I cray? I think it's cool. I'm a Destiny 9. So I am living, my life path. That's my life path number. We're getting, 9 is a number of completion. And I really have always felt, it's really weird because when you start meditating on these numbers, it's like I have always, the energy that's inside of me, I feel like 9 is the number of completion, and like this may be my last iteration of my spirit, like this might be my last incarnation or something, and I've always felt like that. I don't know. And that's just one interpretation of my destiny number, but it's like, I think my karma, I think my past, I think I'm okay. I think I'm having a good experience because it's very balanced right now, and I don't want to rock the boat. I've never had a lot of misfortune. That's why I think my destiny number, I think I'm good. But I just have to stay balanced. But I have never really experienced a lot of misfortune. Even up until now, not a lot of misfortune. Everything's really simple. So, but my psychic number is a 2. And because I was born on the 11th day of a month, and you add numbers, you compound numbers together. So if you're born on 11, you add the 1 and 1 together, you get 2. So my psychic number is a 2. And 2, when I meditate on the number 2, it represents duality, and it represents my like severely black and white, logical, analytical way of understanding the world, and not even in a good way, like in a very like oppressive way. I oppress myself by being too serious. But this whole black and white way that I view the world, it's very weird how it all boils down. And then my name number, I have no idea. If I add up all the letters in my name, I think I'm my name number is a number 8. I haven't meditated on the number 8, but I think that's Saturn. I think that's Jupiter or Saturn. I forget. But anyway, they're all related to celestial bodies. And when you add all those numbers together, oh my God. And the funniest thing that's weird about all this whole thing is that when I add the 3 numbers together, I compound them into the number 1, which is the sun, which is ruled by the house Leo. Guess what my sign is? The house Leo. Yeah, I'm ruled by Leo. It's so weird. I've always been a fire sign. I've never been anywhere else other than this fucking planet. Like every time I look at my astrological shit, it boils down to the same thing. Even when I had no context, it still boiled down like this. Even when I was a Christian, it still boiled down like this. It's so weird. It's so weird, but seeing those patterns is exciting. It is very exciting, and it can kind of kick-start some other shit. So if you're bored with your life, if you find that you are becoming fed up or I don't know, antsy in your seat and you need to figure something out, numerology is a great framework. And I implore you to, add your numbers together. And I want you to visit my blog, Devaugn.org, DVAUGHN.org. Thank you for listening. You are listening to Center of the Sun. My name is Devaugn. I would like for you to comment, subscribe, all those things. But most of all, the greatest of these is love. And I would love for you to text me, girl. 513-549-6080. Thank you for listening and have a great day.